And now, the transporter to Hades, the reformer of hooker whores, and the bronze god, the one, the only, the legendary Chris Bay.
You know him, you love him. The bronze god is here, Mr. Chris Bass. How are you, my friend? Great to have you as always.
Oh, well, first of all, good morning to you. Good afternoon to everybody out there. Of course, he is the Rain Man. He doesn't perform tricks, but he has the prostitutions when it comes to sports. And that's how he operates. The damn thing you could do about it. It's too late. And so it just is what it is. I want to thank you always, my brother, for having me on, all the brothers and sisters out there in the comment section doing your thing. And good morning, good afternoon, boom, SHOCKalakah to you.
I love that greeting. All right, let it loose. What you got for us?
Russell Wilson to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know.
I knew you'd get wind of that.
I don't know, and I don't like knowing sometimes. And no matter how old you get, you can always learn from people's lessons, or even, of course, your own lessons.
Yep.
And I don't think that, again, going back to his days in Seattle, when your coach and Megatron and everybody on your team is telling you that you're this, that, and the third, they got to go through a restricted number at times to contact or a second party to get to your quarterback, or sometimes third or fourth. Everybody can't be lying.
Right.
And I think his days are past him. I really believe that. I mean, I think the situation that happened in Denver, he got the payoff, but he also got the kick out. And he kicked his ass out to where he is now in Pittsburgh. And I think that I revere Pittsburgh's coach. I love what he does. I love what he continues to do, Mike Tomlin. And I don't think he's a person of no nonsense.
Right.
And there had to be conversations to say Russell Wilson Inc. is not a part of what possibly could be a marriage between him and the Pittsburgh Steelers. And maybe, just maybe, Russell realizes that you can look. It's not like you can't juggle with these acts. You can, but I think when one begots the other. But I think when you put one more in front of the other, then that becomes a problem. I mean, how many cars do you have? Like, it's you and like 8 other parking spaces there. You was back in Denver or Seattle. I mean, how many cars do you have, dude? I mean, and don't be wrong.
Right.
It's one of those things where if you let that ego, which we all obviously have, get in front of you, it could destroy you. So yes, he gets the $1 million a year at the bare minimum for a quarterback. Denver going to eat the rest of the contract just to get his ass out. But I don't see it. I don't see anything happening with his time in Pittsburgh, and it could just be the end.
I think it is the end for Russell Wilson. And the end for me, as far as Russell Wilson goes, started when he didn't give the ball to Marshawn Lynch on the 1-yard line in the Super Bowl. They never recovered. He never recovered. The Seahawks never recovered from that. They haven't been back to the Super Bowl, nor has Russell Wilson. And Pete Carroll ran the daylights out of him the latter part that he was there. And they didn't equip him with an offensive line. They didn't equip him with a bell cow running back like they had with Marshawn Lynch. And they tried to revive beast mode. And it worked for a little bit. It worked for a little bit, but it came down to the game against San Francisco where they were a half a yard away from winning the West Division and they couldn't get it. That the Super Bowl 49 was the beginning of the end. When they couldn't claim the West in 2019, in my opinion, that slammed the door.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Beast, but I'm not good with nicknames. I didn't know my own nickname from half the time. But
it's all right. It's all
that's
right.
all right. No, go back to Marshawn Lynch. I'll just stick to government names. I'll put it like that.
Yes.
The process of when you're defining your career have finite moments. And like you said before, what if he would have handed him the ball? Would he
Yep.
have left Seattle? Would he have stayed there and had a glorious career going to the Super Bowl or Super Bowls, depending on if everybody was back together again, to bring the band back? So we don't know. One of those finite moments that really could change the course of somebody's history.
Yeah. And we see it all the time in the world of sports. We see it in life. One finite moment, like you said, changes the course of history. A finite moment I love bringing up, May 7th of 89, Jordan shot over Craig Elo, the shot that changed two franchises. So there are moments like that. Oh man, there are moments like that in sports all the time that defines careers and in many cases defines lives.
You're absolutely right. And it's moments you live for. Those are moments that, as fans or people have played on all types of levels, those are moments you live for. Those are moments you practice and be in games for when you're able to, again, put that linchpin. Where were you when you did this? Or when were you when he or she did that? So
Yep.
those are moments that we crave because that is the backbone of sports in general.
It is. It is indeed. And you put it so eloquently, those finite moments that define sports and define lives. I don't see this being more than 1 year for Russell Wilson in Pittsburgh. And you know what the media speak is, he's going to be a veteran presence to Kenny Pickett. He's going to help coach him and get him ready. No, I don't even think he's going to do that. They brought him in because, they needed an extra body in practice and they needed an insurance policy for Kenny Pickett because Kenny Pickett
Right.
has shown not to be has shown to be fragile in his first couple of years in the NFL. So they need that backup, but Russell Wilson is not as durable either.
No, and it's cheap. Like I said before, it's cheap. You don't have to worry about paying him that much. And once again, he's an insurance policy. And then not like we haven't seen it before. It's just
Right.
that the potential, of course, that Russell Wilson had and maybe still has some left in the gas tank. I personally don't see it, but people
Right.
do show flashes of brilliance every now and again. But we'll see when the season obviously begins and starts up. But I just don't see it. It would have been nice for me as a suffering Bears fan to have seen the Bears do the right thing by Justin Fields.
Yep.
If Justin would have went, for example, to Pittsburgh, when that was hitting, when that one was going on, I was like all for it. I mean,
Mhm.
that would have been great because imagine him and Mike Tomlin. It would have
Yeah.
been perfect.
Right.
It would have been perfect. But again, all lay plans of mice and men sometimes. So this is what happens. What you get. It would have been nice because again, just I don't know. Again, the Bears. If you're going to keep, and I hope it's not true, but it parallels to this. If you're going to keep Justin Fields and bringing Caleb Williams, I don't know what universe I'm living in. I don't anymore. I maybe I've skewed to the bizarro world and nobody told me. And I
Right.
just don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. If you're trying to get, I guess, a tandem of these young quarterbacks and see who the best man win, no. What you should, once again, going back to um, Eberflux, the coach to me of the Bears is just not a good fit. I'm sorry, it just does
No,
not
he's
fit.
not.
The
He's
only
not.
reason why he kept his job was because those last few games was like, all right, Eberflux, if you don't get your ass in gear, you're out on the street. And the last few games started to show some promises. So
Yep.
that is the only reason. But now, once again, you are the guru. I'm just some peon here, just pontificating over crap that's coming out of my asshole when it comes to sports. But you're
Right.
you're the guru. Have you ever seen a situation like this where they kept the coach and got a whole new team around the coach?
I've never seen it.
Okay, thank you.
I have
Good.
never in the 4+ decades I've watched, studied, and covered football, I've never seen a head coach get kept, but all of his assistants are let go. And
Amazing.
that's being nice. I mean, they ran them out of town real quick, and I think they were all excited to get the hell out of there as fast as
Yeah, to
possible.
save their careers is what left of them and try to get a
Absolutely.
job somewhere else. Yes.
So if you're going to fire every other assistant coach, why didn't you bring the hammer down on Eberflux? Why didn't you
I
bring
don't
the
know.
hammer down, or as I call them, Eberfools? Why
Unless
didn't you
he
bring the
has
hammer down on him?
unless he has suggested pictures that we don't know about, he's blackmailing these people. That's the only other than that, I don't see why you keeping him.
It's
It's like, you're not gonna fire me. Remember you at the Motel 6? Now see, that's the only way I can see him keeping a job and getting a raise.
I say the same thing for Nick Sirianni in Philadelphia. I say the same thing for Nick Sirianni because somehow they had a couple of yes men as the offensive defensive coordinator. Of course, the defensive coordinator Matt Patricia the second half of the year, and the defense got worse because they got pummeled into the ground in the wild card game. And you keep Sirianni. You keep Sirianni. And the same with Chicago. You keep Eberfools and let everybody else go. I mean, what can change the question? What has Eberflus done? And I agree with you, and I mean this jokingly. There's some blackmail in there somewhere where they convince the higher ups to keep him and let everybody else go. There's a poster in there somewhere, and something just is not right with that situation. Not right at all.
There has to be a blackmail picture of human beings and animals together. And I won't say what kind of compromising positions, because they should be our pets, not our lovers. I'm sorry. I apologize about that.
Anybody remember Revenge of the Nerds?
I mean, there's other ways of getting goat milk. And just make sure that the goat is female. Just make sure the goat is female if you must do things like that.
Because if it's not,
well, Rasa Ruck. Rasa Rot Ram Ruck.
Rut roll.
You sure some thick milk? Okay, keep chugging. Keep chugging. You be tugging.
I'll be tugging.
Well, yeah, we be tugging. I mean, holy smokes and baby Jesus. I mean, it's just a lot to go through when you're talking about this type of. You can't make sense out of nonsense. It's just impossible. You can try all you want to. You can scratch your head. You can go inside your cranium, but you can't make sense out of nonsense. And this is one of them right here. So whether it's Russell Wilson in Pittsburgh or what's happening in Chicago, which I have no idea whatsoever. And again, I go with the theory that I've skewed into Bizarro World and nobody told me.
I mean,
nobody.
Speaking of nonsense in Chicago.
Yes.
One moment, well, we all know the travesty that is Soldier Field. I've been in that bad boy. Now, first they bought all this land in Arlington Heights, and the hot topic was the Bears are going to move to Arlington Heights.
Right.
Now they want to move south of Soldier Field. Why won't they make up their minds? What the hell is that?
Well, because it's politics and the game is chess, not checkers.
Yes.
And that's the thing about it. When you're talking about a historic place like Soldier Field, but you've outgrown the times. The times have outgrown you. As we talked about this before, the smallest venue in the NFL, and it's hard to compete. The property out at Arlington Heights was fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, to be completely transparent with you, with what they were trying to do, and plus, everybody knows now that Soldier Field does it, but once again, just putting more gas in the seats. So if you were able to create a new stadium out there in Arlington Heights, look how many, you can, of course, go into stores, go into, of course, concerts and things like that. There's a lot of revenue to be made, which is what these other super places are doing. Yeah. Whether it's Jerry's World out there in Texas or Las Vegas or anywhere else, they become more than just your average place to play. It's become multi-entertainment. So you got to keep up with the times. You got to keep up with your competition. But Now they're saying they want to move it south. To me, South's always been the answer.
Yep.
But let's call it what it is real quick. The reason why at the time was because they didn't want to be in a neighborhood with black and brown people. And you
Yep.
hate to go there.
That's it.
You
That's
hate to
it.
go there, but racism is what it is. So they did not
Mhm.
want to move Soldier Field south of the lakefront to where black and brown people reside. And they didn't want to do that.
Mhm.
It would be great for the neighborhood. It would change its complexity, more jobs, and everything else. It's not like to let a certain people of a certain ilk come in there and try to take over. No, it's not going to happen. The mass security and money going into that, of course, it would never
Mhm.
happen. But it's the
Right.
location, and
Mhm.
that's the reason why.
It's like now they want to bring it south of Soldier Field, and you're absolutely right. They didn't want to mix them where black and brown people are. They didn't. That's why they kept it on the lakefront. And that's why the prices are so out of control. And they're going to continue
Absolutely.
to be out of control. And now the other thing is they want a domed stadium south of Soldier Field so they can host a Super Bowl. What?
It's a little bit too late. Again, the smallest
Mhm.
venue, as we say before in this program and others, in the NFL. Second of
Yep.
all, if you've been to Chicago, of course, you've been to Soldier Field and everything else. When you
Yep.
drive by it on Lakeshore Drive, now called DeSable Drive, I've always called the mothership. It looked like the
Yeah.
mothership landed in Soldier Field and then it just
It
stayed
did.
there forever.
It did. It
And,
did.
I mean, the only thing missing was Parliament, Funkadelic, and George Clinton.
That's it. That's
That
the
was
only thing
it.
that was the only thing that was missing because when the mothership landed at Soldier Field in 2003, well, for one, I really wasn't impressed when they unveiled it. Second, it took a full season because remember the 02 season, the Bears spent that in Champaign, playing at the University of Illinois.
Right.
And then this thing popped up. And this is after they had
Right.
a grand departure after they lost to Philadelphia in a playoff game. They had this grand departure saying goodbye to Soldier Field. And then that popped up. Now, I've been in the new configuration for Soldier Field for high school games and college games.
Mm.
My question remains the same. What the hell happened?
Well, somebody dropped many balls on that one. It's an eyesore, and again, and once again, I love Parliament. I'm a funkadelic person. I'm a funkster before I do anything else. But it
Mhm.
looks like the Mothership Connection landed in Soldier Field, which
It
again
is.
is like,
It does.
okay, it doesn't fit. It doesn't look right. It looks like it's out of place. The Mothership
Mhm.
Connection should have left after it landed, but it stayed.
Yeah,
It
it
doesn't look right
stayed.
at all.
And the city owns Soldier Field. The Bears don't. And that's
Mhm.
why the Bears are suffering right now. And you've said a few times on this program, the smallest stadium in the NFL is Soldier Field. It barely holds 61,000 people. Meanwhile, every other stadium holds at least 70.
That's right.
That's why places like US Bank Stadium, Levi's Stadium, Jerry World are getting Super Bowls. Hell, the Superdome is still getting Super Bowls. They're playing the Super Bowl in New Orleans next February. The
It's amazing.
Superdome, as much damage as it suffered in 2005, they rebuilt that thing, made it stronger. They added more seats. They added more entities. It's one of the oldest stadiums in the NFL, and yet, as time has shown, it's one of the more durable stadiums. And New Orleans still gets Super Bowls because you could play it in the Superdome.
You gotta keep up. If you don't keep up, you're left behind.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
that's what's
speaking
happening
of
with the Bears. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, yeah, and they're going to continue to get left behind. Speaking of which, DeAndre Swift has signed a deal with the Bears, and Victor and I talked about this earlier in the show. Man, it's good that they finally got a bell cow running back after they stupidly let David Montgomery go. The question is, what is Eberflus going to do with him? Because you saw it in Philadelphia. For those of you saw it in Philadelphia, they didn't use DeAndre Swift properly, even though he had 1,000-yard rushing season. Man, he should have been closer to Christian McCaffrey's 1,400-yard season than what he ended up with. And he should have been used the way he needed to be used. Now he's in Chicago. The Bear fans that I've talked to are modern day Bear fans, and they are getting so excited because they have DeAndre Swift and Justin Fields. But what they don't realize that the problem is the head coach. The head coach is still there. They got a new offensive coordinator and everything. Are they going to use DeAndre Swift the way that they need to use DeAndre Swift? That's the question.
I don't care anymore. I try. Baby Jesus, I try. I mean, God knows I do, but it gets to the point nothing makes sense. Real quick, talk about Bizarro World. I want to get this story because I'm going to read it verbatim because I want to make sure I don't leave anything out. Okay.
All right.
So 3-time NBA Defensive Player of the Year Rudy Gobert has been fined $100,000 after he appeared to make a money gesture towards the officiating during the Minnesota Timberwolves' 113-104 overtime loss to Cleveland on Friday. In an official release on Sunday, the NBA stated that the Timberwolves center had been fined for directing an inappropriate and unprofessional gesture toward a game official and publicly criticizing the officiating. All right. I got that out the way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now this is what he did, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Where I come from, I'm other people on planet Earth. Where I come from, there's other fingers and digits to use to offend people. I will not do it because I love your audience. This is a family show. When it comes to family, I will not. But you know what finger I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, know it well. Oh
all right.
Yeah.
Now I can once again Bizarro World. I can understand that if he used that finger
right
to the officiating,
mm-hmm.
I won't get upset because it means something. It doesn't mean number one. We know that by now.
It really doesn't. Nope.
But you doing this offends you. How can I mean I get it to a degree. This offends you. First of all, when it comes to the NBA of referees, there's a line in the movie Malcolm X, going back to Denzel Washington playing, of course, the lead role. And after Brother Johnson was beat up by white cops and sent to the hospital and got medical care, the FOI, the Fruit of Islam, the Security of Islam, Nation of Islam, was standing out in front of the hospital. When Malcolm X comes out, talks to the doctor, talks to the white cop says, let's disperse this mob. Malcolm X does a gesture like this, and the crowd, FOI, Fruit of Islam, disbands. And then he says, it's too much power for one man to have. It's too much power for men and women who are officiating in NBA games to have. They're not God, last I checked. And you can't say anything against them, which makes if they were perfect, then why do we have, going back to remote control? If they were so perfect, we wouldn't have that device there.
Right.
They're human. I remember Phil Jackson, who played for the Bulls. That time he came to the presser, got his checkbook. All right, let me sign this check right now. I'm about to go in on these referees.
Yep, he did.
It's one, and he did, right? And he signed the check because they were going to find him. He was like, okay, let me get out of the way.
And he knew they were going to find him.
Exactly. So if we come down to this being offensive, then you need to get your act straight. A lot of referees make mistakes. I hate to tell you this, but you make mistakes. And don't get pissy about it when someone calls you out on it.
There have been so many times I've seen players over the years I've watched basketball call out referees, and the referees just turn a blind eye and deaf ear to it. Now you're so sensitive that when someone does this, you slap a fine on them. Okay, let me pose this question: why haven't you done it? Why haven't you slapped a fine on LeBron? Why haven't you slapped a fine on Stephen Curry? They've made that signal. There are plenty of other players who made that signal, but you want to do it to Rudy Gobert? How butthurt are you to slap that fine on Rudy Gobert for making that gesture? It's like Bay said a few moments ago. There's another gesture they can make that would be offensive and that would constitute a fine. But this, it's stupid.
When I was 19 years old, and that was a long time ago, and I was back in college, and I was given the opportunity to go to a radio station to possibly work at 19, to work in the mailroom, and then in 6 months go into programming and go from there.
Yep.
So I'm 19, I'm already nervous, and I'm talking to the guy who I thought the job was a lock, and we're going back and forth talking. We had a good conversation. Snowman, Rayman, Brian, I called him sir. The man got pissed off at me calling him sir. I can't make this stuff up.
Stop it.
No, no, I called the man sir, and he got mad at me.
And he got mad at you for what?
Because he had to be in his, I'd probably say I'm 19, probably in his early 30s then. To him, he associated the word sir with old.
Oh, goodness.
And then he says to me, damn, I ain't that old. I'm like, wait a minute, I thought, because I'm nervous, I thought I called him Mother Hubbard and by mistake or something like that. But no, I called him sir. And I didn't get the job because of that. I kid you not, because I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So if he showed me on the radio station, this is Chris. He called me sir. I'm like, dude, you still on sir? Are you kidding me? I didn't call you son of a beeswax. I didn't call you Cy Boob. I didn't call you Mother Hubbard. I didn't call you Momofuku.
Right.
I didn't call you none of those names. But yet, this is why I messed up bad. Had I called him Momofuku, I would have got the job.
Wow.
Since everything's so bizarro world.
Mm-hmm. It is.
So again, go back to Ruby Gobert. He's doing this. He gets fined $100K. Going back to eons, when I was trying to get a job on terrestrial radio for the first time, for me just calling the man sir, that did not give me the job. Had I called him out of his name, I would have got the job. So I can't with this parallel stuff, man. I don't get it.
That's crazy that you called him sir, which I gathered a long time ago as a sign of respect, because I'd said that to my dad. I said that to my dad.
Yeah.
And that sign of respect is offensive?
It was offensive because to him, he equated with it being old, and I didn't get the job because of that.
Wow.
Yep.
Bizarro world indeed.
I'm telling you,
wow.
I'm not going to walk around here with an S reverse on my chest. I can't do it, doctor.
No. No.
Can't do it.
That's wild that you gave him, well, it's basically a term of endearment amongst men. You calling him sir, a sign of respect, and that's crazy. That's crazy. And you're right. Had you called him out of his name, you would have gotten the job. That's nuts. Wow.
The only thing missing from that situation was him wearing his monogram straitjacket.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that's insane.
Wow. That's crazy.
I can't do no more, doc. I'm trying to fight a good fight, but I'm telling you, woo!
Listen, many times you and I both wanted to deal out some knuckle sandwiches. All right? Lord knows. With extra mayo. Absolutely. With extra mayo. When PSI covered the Proviso West tournament, and I got the call to do some of the games.
Mm-hmm.
I was told I would do the first 4, then I'd get a break, and then I do the last 2 in the evening session, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wrong. That first day I did 6 consecutive games. I'm worn out. I finally get and look, as much as I love calling basketball games, my voice and my body took a beating that first day.
Of course.
First day, first time doing Proviso West, because I was asked by the producer, how do I call a game? And I said, think about the old simulcast era with Jim Durham and Johnny Kerr. That was my main reference.
Mm-hmm.
My voice took a beating that day, and I nearly called off for the rest of the tournament because I was exhausted. Fortunately, they let me go early. They let me go like early afternoon. And when I'm thinking, okay, I can get a break and then I'll come back, I just won't talk.
Right.
He pulled me aside and said, see you tomorrow.
Good.
You want to talk about a black man flying out of Proviso West so fast?
I know, right?
Man, I flew the hell out of there. And that year I was covering Whitney Young. It was 2007. I was covering Whitney Young also. They had a game that night. I said, there's no way I'm going to be able to make it. I am beat and I'm beat up. I went home. That night, an ice storm happened.
Mm.
And all kinds of calls were coming into me. Are you going to make it? I said, I cannot travel right now because we were given an advisory not to travel until at least 10 o'clock, 10 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Well, wouldn't you know it, we got the clearance, and I'm driving in from Gary. We got the clearance. I flew to Proviso West, happened to find a spot right next to the school. I got in, I got upstairs, I did the middle 4 games, and I turned and told my boss, I'm going home. I'm tired.
Right.
But man, sometimes getting in this industry, sometimes I got to be honest, I question why I got in this industry, but then my love of sport and hearing Jim Durham reminds me of why, and hearing my dad's words of always chase your dream reminds me of why. But to borrow from Chris Bates, God damn you, sometimes I don't know.
Well, you sound like me. I got to a point in my life where the purity of that 6-year-old that was once me in my room listening to radio, that still thrives within me.
Yes.
Unfortunately, people get into radio at the time, terrestrial radio, for other reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of your own. You may have some like moments or find people that are like-minded, but other people got in for other reasons. Once I started to realize that more than anything else, then I can navigate the room a little bit better. Because I just thought that people love radio, got into radio. No. People got in it for whatever reasons. And we're going to get into it today, of course, there's too much of that's older than the program. But it's the fact that you run into people who have certain agendas, like any other business, any other profession. So once you see that coming, you're able to navigate probably a little bit better.
We called games at Chicago State for a full season, if that tells y'all anything. And we got to go. Chris Bates joining us as he does every single Friday. And boy, some of the reasons people get into radio, one of these days we're going to get into that. But I love you, brother. Thank you so much for coming on this morning. As always, it's been a thrill and a pleasure.
Thank you. Let me be myself again. And not many people let me be myself around other people, but you do, and I don't take it for granted. Thanks again, my man, and have a fantastic weekend.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chris.
And now, the transporter to Hades, the reformer of hooker whores, and the bronze god, the one, the only, the legendary Chris Bay.
I might title this episode the technical problems episode because we were using 2 different programs, and one of them worked and one of them didn't, and all kinds of stuff, especially if we were trying to make adjustments when Chris Bates was coming on. We got to get out of here. Have a great day. God bless. Remember to make your next move your best move, and always remember, if your dreams don't scare you, they are simply not big enough. Dream big, do bigger. We are, and we hope y'all are too. 3 hours on Monday. I promise we're out of here. See you Monday. Enjoy the weekend, everybody.